What is something that really bothers you about doing business in Nepal?
The government has made it very difficult to do business here up until now. One day we're going to see a unicorn from a one-person company, and maybe that will happen.
There is a new term that is going around. There is this thing called AI-able company.
5-10 years time are going to be the businesses that own their technology, that own their data, and have leveraged these things in a way that no one else is doing.
Can we reframe digital transformation as an AI transformation?
There's a serious gap that people aren't talking about. If a competitor comes along with more money, they've just ultimately got access to the exact same things that you do. I don't see that as a competitive advantage. Things will dramatically shift, no matter what role it is, no matter what business type, things are going to shift.
How do you think we should brand Nepal from an angle of tech if we want more of the tech jobs to come in this part of the world? Become a doer presents the Doers. Our strength partner, Hama Steel. Hi Julian.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Good to be here.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
So many questions. Where do I start?
Let's kick off.
Yeah. 10 years, no? I mean, like it's a long time.
Yeah, 10 years, coming up 10 years. So I started it in 2015, so 11 years when it comes in October, I think. So 11 years I've been doing it, but yeah, been a while.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, it is. You reflect and look back and say,
yeah. Maybe my first questions would be, why Nepal?
It's an interesting question. I often get asked it a lot. It wasn't some strategic masterstroke or anything that I ended up here. I guess I started Intuji when I was just before my 16th birthday. I was 15. And I was still in school at that point, and we started doing kind of marketing work, websites. So it's like small scale websites, logos, graphic design, content creation, very minimal stuff at that point. But, and we slowly grew it, just doing freelancing. It wasn't a business, if you know what I mean. It was like a hobby, and I was quite young. But eventually it got to the point where, because I was at school, I was trying to manage it, run it during the day. I was taking phone calls and answering emails, things, getting in trouble because I had my phone when I shouldn't. And so I needed someone to
help you out.
Yeah. And so I reached out. I knew a contact, like I was working with a contact, and he was Nepali.
Oh, wow. So you made that contact back in Australia only?
No, it was just online. So I'd met through, I can't remember what the platform was, but I met through one of the platforms because I was doing some outsourcing. Like I was finding people to help me with this or that or whatever at the time. And I asked him if he knew anyone that would want a full-time job. And he said, yeah, I do actually. He had a friend, he was called Ritesh, and he joined the team back in March 2016, I think it was. So it was about 6 months after I'd started it initially. And he grew with us, and he was actually with us up until earlier this year. So he was with us for about 10 years. But that's really how it came to be. So that's where it started. I met someone who knew someone, and then hired someone and joined full time. And then from there, obviously, naturally, I was still in school and we were growing the team. So there was no point me trying to hire someone when I was at school, if that makes sense. So
yeah, it does.
We hired people here because we already had team members here. And then naturally, it's just grown into what we have today. A lot of time and effort.
So what would be a foreigner perspective on Nepal? I mean, like, it's a very young country. I mean, like, I keep on repeating this statement that our average age is somewhere between 26 to 27. Yeah. 70% of our, I think, citizens are below 30, 35. It's a pretty young country. I mean,
interesting.
A lot has happened lately.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm quite curious, what's the lens right now of Julian towards Nepal?
It's always got a special place in my heart because I've been here a lot of times. I think we were talking about earlier. I've been here I think it's 18 or 19 times, one of the two. From my perspective, as in what I see now, is I see a country with a lot of potential and a lot of young people. I remember up until recently, every time I'm making comments like to people I'd meet, like going to the airport and stuff, you'd see mass exodus of young people, right? Young talent constantly. And it's one of the things I've said with Intuji all the time is like, I want to provide opportunities to people that, bright, talented people that they would wouldn't be able to get here otherwise, if that makes sense, or at least be part of that, right? That they can get opportunities to work globally, earn well, maybe get opportunities traveling, that kind of stuff, but work on some really meaningful stuff. And in some respects, I'd say we've definitely done that. In other respects, I say we've got a long way to go. So, but I guess that's what I see, is I see a lot of potential in young talented people. And I think if things are looking up now, and if things, if the young people can rally around it and seriously put their effort into building the country, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, especially in the tech space.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So, I mean, like, what's the Julian style of building teams and companies? How are you building teams over here?
It's a good question. I'm still figuring that out, I think. It's always a learning experience. We're certainly not perfect, but for me, it's all about trying to get alignment and making sure that we have the right people on the team. And we have a very direct culture, blunt culture. It's probably in some respects a little bit different to Nepali culture in general, in regards to where we have a principle called QTIP, which is quit taking it personally. It's essentially
come again.
QTIP, so quit taking it personally.
Okay.
One of our business coaches that we've had advice from before gave us that, and essentially it's just, no matter how feedback's given, no matter what, quit taking it personally. So it's not personal. It may not be delivered in the best way. It may not be perfect, but it's ultimately for our benefit and the company's benefit and for your own benefit more than anything. And high performers don't care about feedback, meaning like they want it. Not that they don't care about when they get told. They want the feedback. They don't get offended. They don't. You might take a bit to digest. Sometimes it's a bit hard, but ultimately they go, yeah, okay, this was right. I can improve on that. And that's something I've learned over time. But I guess that's ultimately the culture that we're trying to build. And no doubt here, there's definitely been some challenges with aligning on that with individuals. Because for myself, I can be very blunt and direct. Not always a great communicator.
You accept that?
Yeah, 100%. I know that I need to improve well and truly on those things. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is create a culture where it doesn't matter whatever position you're in, you can give feedback to anyone, and any piece of advice or idea, etc., is welcomed, and you should at the same time receive it. And I think one thing that people miss about this is they often take this concept or idea and go, oh yeah, okay, so I need to give, so I need to accept feedback. Like, I'm QTIP, quit taking it personally. Absolutely. But that's actually the easy bit. The hard bit is for me to sit here and say to you that X, Y, and Z, right? Like this isn't good enough. And most people, even if they get to level 1, let's call it level 1, they start accepting feedback, but they won't give it.
So how do you build this culture? I mean, like, because it's easier said than done, right? I mean, like,
very much so. Yeah.
You repeat. I mean, like, constantly repeat the framework again and again with the teams. Is that how you build it?
Correct. And I think it's a lead by example. And I can't say I've been perfect at it. I am just as much need to improve on this as anyone. But it's about personally, I would say, firstly, it's about finding the right people. Like, fundamentally, if you have the wrong people, and this applies to anything in business, right? It applies to our team as a business. So if we have the wrong people in the team, we're going to struggle. If you're working with a company that you're working on a project with, if you have that wrong people on that, it's not going to work, right? So fundamentally, it comes back to having the right people. If the mindset is wrong, no matter what you say, and someone's just going to get offended, or they're not going to give feedback, they're too scared or whatever, there's only so much we can do, right, to change that. And so firstly, it's that right people kind of mentality, and then the second part of it is you're rehearsing it and leading by example on actually just creating that culture. We're not perfect at it. We've got a long way to go, but it's a constant. We'll always have a long way to go to keep improving that. But I want an environment where everyone gives feedback, everyone receives feedback, and it's not just superficial.
So how do you find the right people?
Good question. To be honest, we've to date not recently, but before that, had gone like the traditional route of hiring and finding, trying to find candidates, going through. What I've learned the hard way is you very quickly intuition and gut, you're having the ability to ask very intelligent questions. Within asking three questions, I think I would want my answer as to whether or not this person is going to be on our team or not.
So you let the other person ask you a question?
I'll let them ask us questions. Yeah, absolutely. So that gives me part of it. But further to that, I think that's the important part of it. But what I was saying there was, I would want to be able to ask kind of three questions, not just me, but anyone on our team that's interviewing. And within those three questions, outside of I don't particularly care for your resume and that kind of thing experience, because I've seen 2-year experienced people outperform 20-year experienced people. It doesn't matter. It's results that matter. I've seen people that have 3 years experience that are delivering better solutions than people with 15 years. It doesn't
matter anymore.
There's no such thing as like a resume and old school thing. I don't care about that. What we care about is, okay, what are we trying to achieve from an outcome and a results perspective? How are you going to do that? Essentially, ultimately. And if they can answer that in a way that we feel is right, you can very quickly pick up and go, hey, they've got it. And most importantly, it's mindset over skills. But then coming back to your point was letting them have the ability to ask us questions, and that will tell you a lot about where their mindset's at.
So do you take all the interviews by yourself?
No, we got a team that does stuff. I'm not involved in every interview, but for the majority of final interviews, yes, I'm in.
How big is the team at Intuji?
We're around about 30 now.
Okay.
In total. So yeah.
So, is there any meaning behind Intuji, the name of the company?
Yep. It actually means Intuji, which is a Ukrainian word for intuitive. And the first 6 letters of that are Intuji.
Okay.
So essentially it translates directly to intuitive, which in English means easy to use and understand, or easy to use or understand. But yeah, so that's where it comes from. Intuitive is what it means.
Last time we were talking, you mentioned how you guys are so specific on few industries, right? For example, wholesale, manufacturing industries. Any particular reason to be that specific on? I mean, like most of the time when I see service industry, they are sector agnostic. I mean, like we are here to solve a problem, regardless of whichever industry you come from, we can solve your problem. But with Intuji, seems like you guys are quite focused into a few specific sectors.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's probably a few things that come into play. So our main kind of what we call private sector focus is manufacturing, wholesale, and industrial service businesses. So that's like more your blue collar, kind of larger scale. You might say kind of steel factories, could be recycling, could be field service, where they're doing stuff in the field with repairing machinery, things like that. There could be manufacturing of products like for projects, anything from tanks through to welding supplies, things like that. But anything as I said, that manufacturing, wholesale, industrial service area is the private sectors we focus on. Again, I guess the main thing is that we have a lot of experience. I've been privileged to grow up around successful businesses in that space and have access to businesses in those industries, those type of businesses. And as I've grown up and also explored, I don't know, it just fascinates me seeing like humongous facilities that produce a lot of the stuff that people don't say. Like tech's always been talked about, if you know what I mean, and there's always making the news, but the manufacturers like behind the scenes that are using tech to build these physical things is what fascinates me. We also focus on government stuff in different countries as well. And I think there's an overlapping part of that between the private sector stuff that we do and the government stuff, which is ultimately, I believe, those industries in the private sector and then the government stuff is the biggest areas for digital transformation at the moment. They have been for a long time with AI now as well. Those spaces have got some severe potential. And, a manufacturer could be doing $200 million and be like dinosaurs with technology. What could they do if they were, essentially running as a digital first business? Maybe that would be 500 million, not 200. So obviously we can't warp a market, meaning we can't change what their total addressable market is or whatever else, but can we help them I guess the three principles we come back to in any engagement is, can we help them increase profitability, enable scale, and build enterprise value? So we call it PSV thinking. And that's our main objective.
This is another framework, right?
Correct.
Profitability,
Scale,
enterprise
value. So
PS.
PSV.
PSV.
Yeah.
V for
Value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Profitability, scale, and value. So you do not believe in technology that if technology is not bringing any of these, it's not worth the investment.
It's a waste of time. You shouldn't, not only one of them, okay, one of them you might be able to make a business case for. For example, you're going to take an initiative, or you're going to do, for example, you're building a new website, you're implementing a new ERP, you're building a new piece of software, you're doing a system integration, you want to implement AI, whatever. You should be trying to hit every one of those pillars with whatever initiative you're doing. And you should be able to build a demonstrable business case across that. Most people start with features, not outcomes. There's a big difference.
True. So ideally all three, if not at least one.
Absolutely. At least one. You should be targeting all three of them. And if you do it properly, they will all work together. And it may be just approaching something in a different way, right? You might be going and talking, saying, oh, let's go and build a new website. We want to add, we're a manufacturer. We want people to be able to quote online. Yeah, that's the main thing. And we want to add a feature where we can do this. We want to add a feature where we can do that. I come over at an angle where we go, okay, why are we doing a website? How are we trying to increase profitability? So let's actually get back to it. Oh, well, we want to reduce support calls by 80%, right? We're getting 500 support calls to our team at the moment. Can we reduce that to, say, 100? Okay. So what do we need to do to do that, right? So then we go further back than that. Scale. Okay. We're doing 50 million at the moment. Our goal is 100 million. Okay. So ultimately one of the questions I ask a lot of times with clients that we work with is, if your volume doubled overnight, what would break? And a lot of the times that reveals what we should be fixing from that scale perspective. Oh, there's no way we could handle this, or, the team are manually inputting orders into this, or the integration can only handle X, or, those kind of things. It's different for every business, but immediately it kind of reveals that. And the one that people don't think about is that value, or the enterprise value part of it, which is kind of what we're discussing as well, was that data structure a bit earlier on. But was, if you're thinking from an enterprise value perspective, it could be, are we branding this product? How do we turn this into proprietary technology? How do we turn this into proprietary data? Right? Things like that. And if we can do that, then essentially there's significant enterprise value to be had. Now you come back to, let's just build a website. It's a very, very different mindset going into it. And if we can get a return for the business of millions of dollars, it's a very different view on the investment versus, let's build a website as cheaply as we possibly can.
Smart pitch. Right?
It helps from the sales perspective. It's not meant to be just a pitch though. Like, this is, anyone can use this. Like, the idea point being, it's meant to be, it just makes sense, right? Like,
yeah, 100%. I mean, like, you go to an entrepreneur and you say that we are here to increase your profitability. We are here to help you scale, and we are here to help you create more values. I mean, like, it's already sounding enticing. I mean, like,
correct. But most people don't focus on it when they get in. A lot of people, I don't know, and I don't know, maybe it's a misunderstanding thing or whatever, but people seem to get very enticed by shiny objects, right? Like, you talk about AI is the one mainstream at the moment. It's all this. Everyone wants AI. They want it now. They want it yesterday. They don't even know what they want. They just want AI. That's one of them. It's been forever and a day like that. Like, people will see a competitor release a new feature on the website, so they want that. Why? Right? I'm not saying don't do it either. That's not my point. I keep coming back to, though, if you can prove across PSV thinking, and it's not just like about eliminating features. It's more deeper than that. As a business, how are we using technology and building our digital ecosystem to drive profitability, enable scale, and build enterprise value? If you've got a good strategy around that, you will grow the business significantly. And it's the difference between a business that goes from 5% year and year of growth to maybe, as they are a smaller business, 5% or 10%, 50%, whatever it is, but to going like hockey stick growth, right? Because fundamentally, if you don't have those systems and technology in place, there's no way you can go from 50 to 100 in 1 year. Something's going to break. You have to have those systems.
Exactly. About AI, what do you think about AI? It's a lot of confusion going around, right?
Yeah, there is a lot of confusion. I think for me, it's one of the biggest tools we've ever had in efficiency, in automation, and just a shift in how things are going to happen. I think there is some seriously, genuinely good use cases and things where businesses are starting to explore, like how they're going to leverage this to the max for their business. But I think a lot of people, there's a lot of hype as well and a lot of misunderstanding. Like I've seen certified AI trainers and people that have literally, like they've changed, they were previously a content writer and now suddenly they're an AI expert. They've never done digital transformation. And that's like, to be honest, that's the majority of people that are peddling this stuff. Even for ourselves, like we're building a significant internal system. We call it Intuji OS, like essentially an operating system, a digital twin of our business where it runs the entire business. Sounds very cliche based on what we're talking about, but like essentially AI native, agent first, but it's our infrastructure and we've built it. It's not some layer just on top of OpenAI or Anthropic, whatever model you want to choose or company. But essentially being that we've digitized our entire business and processes and systems. And again, that's our goal to how we scale massively, right? And I think taking that principle of AI is that if you're not leveraging it like that and going, I don't know, you're getting blinded by that shiny objects kind of syndrome. There's a lot of people that are implementing stuff that it's just going to be in 2 to 3 years time, or even less than that. It's going to be like, that was a waste of time. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that comes back to this point of that no one can actually truly pinpoint, not no one, but a lot of people can't pinpoint how's this genuinely building a proper business case that is defensible across that profitability scale and enterprise value, not just we're making people more efficient. Mm. I think the days, and just to caveat that by finishing that, like obviously if you use ChatGPT and Claude and stuff to help you write emails and draft content and stuff, that's obviously great. Like you are being more efficient than you were previously and stuff like that there, and that's awesome. But to me already that's table stakes, right? Like as in everyone's got access to that now. That's just the new normal. That's not AI. Like it's AI, but it's not anything amazingly innovative, I guess is the way to put it. Where the businesses that are going to win, I'm talking 5-10 years time, are going to be the businesses that own their technology, that own their data and have leveraged these things in a way that no one else is doing.
True. Would it be wrong to say if we can reframe digital transformation as an AI transformation? Do you think digital transformation is AI transformation eventually?
AI is a part of digital transformation. Digital is a lot more than just AI. AI, for example, still runs in the cloud and things like that. I'm using very simple examples here, but like there's no such thing as AI on its own, right? AI is a part of the overall digital transformation. Is it going to become a much more significant part of it? Yes, absolutely. It's going to. But it is a part of that process, if that makes sense. There's still going to be other systems, other things at play. For example, like you're still going to need databases, right? Like again, using a very simple example, to hold data somewhere, structured data has got to be stored. You're not storing it in a model, are you? And so AI is going to play a big part in that digital transformation, but ultimately it's digital transformation.
And the reason I brought this was because I think there is a new term that is going around that I can sense. There's this thing called AI-able company. AI-enabled company, yep. AI-able companies.
Yep.
I mean, like earlier it used to be a digital first company.
Yeah.
Now it's like AI first company, and every product you see now is AI first product, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like AI, in a new world, AI is going to integrate digital transformation. AI is going to integrate data-driven approaches. I mean, like all these subtags is coming under. If you are an AI first company, you have your data sorted out. You have your digital transformation sorted out. Might not be true, but I see this acronym taking different shapes, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I think a big part of it's the marketing play, right? Everyone's trying to
copyright.
They're trying to clearly position themselves as, that we're all over AI and everything. I guess and this is the challenge for me and even the projects that we're working on with clients, with ourselves, even with Intuji and things like that there. It's very easy to dress something up to make it look great. It's much more difficult to build something sustainable that is a long-term seriously actually like a genuine initiative, right? That's much more difficult. A lot of the stuff that's going on is dressed up, is the way I'd put it. Now, is it wrong? No, I believe that you're going to need to get that. But a lot of companies are still figuring out what that actually looks like. And to me, there's two different parts of AI, which is one of them, you have your conversation layer, which is essentially you got ChatGPT, you've got Claude, you've got Gemini, you've got these other ones which you can use them in their own kind of ecosystems, which they've got their own applications or their own web applications and stuff. You can then layer them on top of certain data and have a conversation, right? The second part of it is where you then actually have the agent infrastructure, where the agents are either executing or completing tasks, like essentially digital employees. And that's a much more difficult one to solve. And that is where the genuine long-term value will be. There will be companies, and this is something we're trying to work on at the moment, not claiming we've figured it out, but there will be companies that figure out how to have digital employees essentially effectively. Then I just so-called agents that run very specifically in very specific ways in those kind of businesses. And they will be the ones that are the significant size companies in 10 years' time.
I wonder in companies like these, if an agent fucks up something, who takes an accountability? Is the founder?
It's a good question. I think there's still like clearly there's going like ultimately there's people that talk about like one person teams and one day we're going to see a unicorn from a one person company, etc. And maybe that will happen, but ultimately I see for you talk in the general scenarios. For any sizable company, there's going to be still a team behind it. Now that team might be 10 people that probably would have been 100 before, or it could be 100 that would have been 1,000, right?
Or maybe every employee will have their own individual agents. So I mean, like you empower your team by providing an agents for every individual of your team, right? That could be so that there is still a factor of accountability. If something goes wrong, somebody has to be there to take it.
Yeah, so that's the point that you're making, is that essentially you're still going to have, ultimately there's still going to be someone accountable for either how that infrastructure was implemented, the guardrails that we implemented, all of that kind of stuff. And there's things that ultimately should be done. Like if there's very high risk scenarios, there should be humans in the loop, right?
100%.
Things like that. Now, without getting into all the technical details, you can make arguments in the fact that yes, it will hallucinate, it will make mistakes. There are absolutely things like that need to be taken into account. But all of those things are going to have to be figured out. Ultimately, like I say to people, like it's not going backwards, is it, right? Like it's going forwards. And so like these problems have got to be sorted out, and the companies that figure them out are going to be the ones that win, in my opinion.
True. And I think at times I sense a confusion between, I mean, like even it has not been long that this clarity came to me about the difference between job and a task. We say the job would be replaced, It's not a job that is getting replaced. It's a task within a job that is getting replaced. For example, you need to write a good copy for a product. So earlier, if your task used to be research and then come up with an alternative, do a computer analysis, do the A/B testing. So all this, so a job has a multiple task. Few of the tasks is getting automated. The job is not getting automated. The job still have to do it by an agent or by the human, right? It's the task that is getting automated. If the job has 10 tasks and if it takes 10 days, maybe now it takes a week, maybe it takes 2 days. So I think to me, it has come to some sense of clarity that the difference between a job and a task, and right now, it's the task that is getting automated. The job still needs to get done. The copy still needs to get written. The code still gets to get written. But then now maybe there is a lot more efficiency within the process of getting the job done. But you still need to get the job done, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think from a business perspective, absolutely. Then you got to compare how efficiently can we get it done. What's the quality? Can we increase the quality? Can we increase the output? Again, it's about the results. Now, for people that in their job, they are doing only tasks and there are tasks, I've seen this or witnessed this in tasks that would have been taken previously like a week to do. We've got use cases internally that are getting done in 20 minutes. And now that doesn't mean that we sit around for the rest of the day and twiddle our thumbs. And what's going to be the expectation is you now produce 10x, 20x the results. True. Not the output.
True.
The results.
Exactly.
And I think the people that are in trouble, and this is one of the things I've been talking about recently, but is you got low performers and high performers, and that gap, in my opinion, is going to just dramatically widen. And what I mean by low performer is someone that just ticks a box, here to do a task, just try and do as minimum as I can, try and do the task, tick it off, and I'm done. Well, if that task is writing copy, now you've got a high performer that can now produce 20x the results. The other 19 people, hypothetically, are now at risk. If there was one high performer and 19 low performers, the one high performer is going to outperform those other 19 low performers. And so I guess the point being is that you've got to focus on, in your role, things will dramatically shift. No matter what role it is, no matter what business type, things are going to shift. From creating proposals to writing contracts to drafting content to creating images to creating marketing content to all of this stuff. But it doesn't mean that you can just put it on autopilot. It still needs great people, right?
True. And I think most importantly, at least for me, I'm trying to explain it to my team that have that ability to see the difference between a task and a job. A job and a task are two different things. And I think if we could transfer that mindset, maybe our team could be much better at dividing a job into a particular task and then decide, okay, I'm going to bring AI on this. I'm going to use that model for this particular task, and these are the things that I'm going to do it by myself, right?
Yeah.
Coming back, I think I also feel this is quite of a weird time for businesses, because your expenses has increased because now you have to give model access to all your employees.
Yeah.
Your client has this mindset that, now that you guys are using AI, maybe the cost has become much lower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe people don't understand the nuances of AI, but I think every Tom, Dick, Harry understand there is an AI thing.
Yeah.
And it makes things faster. It makes things cheaper.
Yeah.
But from a business angle, your expenses has slightly increased because now you are giving access to everybody. You have to give access to everybody, right? But you can't increase the cost for your client, because from an angle of a client, now you have AI. You better give me on a much cheaper than you used to.
Yeah.
So kind of a weird. Obviously, you can increase the number of tasks you could do now. Maybe you can increase the number of projects you used to take on.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's kind of a weird times?
It is. I couldn't agree more. We're actually having a conversation about this yesterday, and this, I believe, this links, like, no one wants to probably address the elephant in the room, but the point being, layoffs are already happening at mass. And yes, there'll probably be other roles that fill certain things and that kind of stuff. But from an individual perspective, is the fact that unless you either got like two options, you either reduce your headcount, because now, for example, you got 20 people, you might now have 5 that produce the same as the 20 people, so you've reduced that headcount and the cost is reduced, so therefore you can do that. Or you essentially now effectively 5x the amount of work and charging for that.
Provided your sales team are working day.
Yeah, correct. So that's the point. And there's no other way. Like, what else do you do? Like, it's either one or the other. And I agree with you. It's that kind of scenario. What I will come back to is companies still seriously value. And there's a difference between producing a deliverable and getting results. And at the end of the day, yes, we might be more efficient. So something that we might have charged, let's just use $100 for previously, we might still charge $100 for, but we deliver more value along with that, because we're allowed to be able to do that by AI, because it's enabled us to do more. Or that price may come down, but we might do it twice. Instead of 100, it's 50. In saying that, I believe, again, the companies that win aren't necessarily about reducing the price. It's about finding ways to deliver more value.
Exactly. And do you feel as an entrepreneur, there is a sudden pressure or demand to be hyper productive now? Because you suddenly we have become more productive, and then there's a lot more things to be done. I mean, like earlier without AI, you used to work 10, 12 hours a day. Now with AI, you're working 14, 15 hours a day. I mean, like...
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying, kind of the mindset with it. I guess there's things that I've gone hard on as well, because now things even that I've waited on other people that I probably shouldn't have, that now are possible to do it on my own. And that's the biggest thing for me. And so you kind of just like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm going to do this, and making momentum quickly. But again, I think that's the point. This is the difference between, not to say that I'm a high performer, but there's a difference between the people in mindset to go like, yeah, that's what's expected now. Like, if you're going to win, there's other people that are doing that. I'm not a proponent of saying you work your life away. That's not the point. But ultimately it comes with some sacrifice and some work. And this isn't just about on a personal level. You take the same principle to a company level, right?
Exactly.
Like I've been saying to team members is like, don't think that we just get like a tool and that great, we can spend 7 hours just kicking around doing like clients. It doesn't work. It's not how business works, right? It doesn't work like that. We're now just suddenly expected to produce 10x. One of the other interesting conversations we're having before is like one of our team members I was speaking to mentioned this, and he was like, yeah, we need to think about it like if we had hypothetically 20 people before, we now have the equivalent of 100 people 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it like that and you look at your output productivity, your results, you go, are we producing that? So if we were 6 months back and we had access to 100 people, well, that was our team, are we anywhere near producing that result? And that's a seriously big challenge for a business to analyze that. There's one point about this AI point that I want to talk about on it. I think it's seriously relevant, and I think people are not, this question isn't getting answered well enough, which is we can deploy ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever tools you want to our team to make them more productive. They can build their own mini agents on that infrastructure. They can build little workflows. They can use it to just as a chat interface, do emails, content, ideas, proposals, whatever, which is, don't be wrong, it's all great. Like it's awesome. But the big problem that I don't see many people talking about is how do you go from having individuals using each of that individually to having organizations in a consistent manner where not one person, and you can't just distribute a prompt library or whatever. You can, but like it's not consistent. And that's what I come back to with like that Intuji OS infrastructure and that overview. We call it an edge factor. That's one of the things we talk about. It's an edge factor of the business, which is, what is your edge factor? What is the number one thing, the digital ecosystem that you are building and using as a business that essentially gives you an edge factor over others? A competitive edge, an X factor. We call it your edge factor. The point being that you deliver a system that you have built. Now, without getting into the technicalities, I'm saying you're building your own models and things like that, but you're arranging technology in a way that you can hand it to your team that can give consistent experiences to the team, give tools to the team that would have unlocked things that would have otherwise never been possible. And not only that, give a consistent experience to a client. What I mean by that, if you're, for example, you're creating content yourself, how do you not just use Gemini, Claude and everything to do that? That's great. That's step one. The next level is you leveraging your own technology, leveraging those models that, guess what, any team member can go into your own system that is creating those deliverables and it's consistent every time. Not someone knows how to use it better over here. Someone knows how to use this better. Someone knows how to do this. Oh, this person didn't have access to that tool. You can onboard a new team member and they can start delivering that, whatever it is as a business. And it doesn't matter whether you're this applies to a manager. It's not just content. It applies to a manufacturer. It could be proposals, could be quotes, could be client updates, reports. There's a serious gap that people aren't talking about, which is the centralization of the outputs and deliverables using AI as a business, and the centralization of knowledge and documents and data as a business and context.
And I think that is the leverage you have against other companies who are using the same commodity models, right? Else,
absolutely.
Tomorrow there is a new update and in a model, and then
they get the same thing.
Your business is gone.
Correct. Or they get the same thing. For example, you might even be using a off-the-shelf SaaS tool as well, or something like that. I'm not saying that all wrong. Don't get me right. I'm not saying they're all wrong, but so don't get me wrong on that front that they are all bad. That's not my point. But what is significant is that if your competitor, you're leveraging your entire business on that. Hypothetically, if a competitor comes along with more money, more whatever else, they've just ultimately got access to the exact same things that you do. I don't see that as a competitive advantage. Can it help your business? Absolutely. It can. Like, don't get me wrong. But is it your edge factor? No, it's absolutely not. And I don't see that. I don't know. The more and more tech-driven we get, digital, whatever way you want to put it, the bigger and bigger that differentiator is going to become for businesses, even businesses that are physical businesses, right? Like such as, as you said, manufacturers, things that people that are doing things with their hands. because there'll be a manufacturer that makes product X, and you just hypothetically take two of them, they make the same great quality product. Now what's the differentiator?
If somebody is watching this podcast and they realize that they have not done much to build that leverage, and if they're in a day zero, what would you suggest them to do the next?
It's, I guess I'll keep it generic because it does different for different industries, different businesses, but ultimately the principles remain the same, which is you have to have structured data is the most important thing. Any business that we go into basically has 15 different systems, 15 different databases. If they're integrated, they're poorly integrated, no clear kind of central source of truth, if that's the way you want to put it. And further to that, most of the businesses that we work with have none of their own technology. What I mean by that, there's none of their own web applications or automations or where they own that infrastructure, right? They are essentially relying on all off-the-shelf tools. And now people often take this in the wrong way of saying like, oh, so you're talking about going and reinventing the wheel? No, I'm not talking about reinventing the wheel. I'm talking about how do you package these different technologies in your own unique way that is only available to you. Mm-hmm. And so I'd focus on going, what can we do to consolidate our data into a single source of truth, get as many systems consolidated into one system as possible. And the second thing I'd be looking at is that PSV thinking about how are we leveraging technology to increase profitability, enable scale, and build enterprise value. And if you've got a proper strategy around that, you might start to go, let's build a product configurator that does X, Y, and Z in a way that's never been done in our industry. Let's automate this process for clients and offer it as a free service. So again, I'm throwing out very generic ideas,
100%.
But it's that mindset, that principle. And to be honest, the people in the business themselves are going to know this far more than anyone else, because they have been in that business for sometimes 50 years, right?
And we have been hearing this thing called data is the new gold, data is the new currency, it's the data.
Yeah.
I mean, like these terms, phrases has been repeated so many times, but now it finally makes sense, because now the algorithm, a lot of things are commoditized, and the only thing that is going to make you stand out from your competitor is going to the structured data that you have on your business. I mean, like earlier it used to make sense. Okay, data-driven decision. Okay, we need to collect data and then make some good decision. But now when we are moving into this ultimate automation phase in our businesses, with all this large language model already available as an open source, now it makes sense. Okay, we train this open source model without data, and then we structure it for them to work in our favor, and that's how it is going to make you stand out from your competitors or from your community of similar businesses.
Couldn't agree more. Not only that, like for example, if you were looking at getting acquired by private equity or something, one of the key things they will look at is that data piece. And most people are like, oh no, hardly ever. Well, it's like, because so many, especially in our kind of space, when I'm talking about, like you're talking about that private sector space, when you're talking about manufacturers, wholesalers, a lot of them don't have it. So yeah, of course they're not looking at it. But if you do, they're buying one of the cleanest databases, not only around contacts, and that's all great, but also like digitized processes. Imagine a manufacturer that has, hypothetically, every single thing that happens in their business is logged and structured. From every machine that turns on and off, every cycle that runs, everything that gets loaded, every quality check, it's linked to every deal, it's linked to every customer. Imagine every single interaction being logged into
and not by humans though.
Correct.
I mean, logged by the machines itself.
Logged by machines itself, all automated. So that's manufacturer A, right? If you want to tell wholesaler A, whatever, business A, let's just call it business A. Then business B, they're a $100 million business, but they have got all the knowledge in someone's head. It's in emails, it's unstructured. They're using 20 off-the-shelf tools, and they've made it work, right? But they've got a team of, how many? 500. And then this team over here is 100. And it's got all this data, all these systems structured. I can tell you which one wants to be acquired by private equity, but maybe both of them, because I might merge the.
But on which valuation?
Correct, but on which valuation, right? And that's the piece. And the reason I keep coming at this enterprise value bit is, if you do that properly, you'll fix the scale and profitability part of it. Because ultimately, enterprise value is about how profitable the business is and how scalable it is. And so, I don't know, so it's one piece that people seriously overlook, and that data piece is often written off, as you say, like by people that don't understand it, right? They've heard data's the new goal or this and that. That's been happening since Google search engines, right? Like Google's forever and a day. This is why they own Gmail, right? That's why Meta owns WhatsApp, Instagram, all these. It's ultimately they're trying to build as much data as they possibly can. And you should apply the same principles in a different, in your own way to your business.
Let me bring this another topic that I've been thinking a lot lately. I was listening to one of the podcasts by Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, and he said, the future of SaaS, the future of software is going to be a UI and large language model. All you need is a UI interface for consumers to communicate with, and then there is a large language model taking care of all the algorithm, and obviously there is a layer of data, as we just talked about, right? Does it ever bother you? Because with every time there is a new model comes in, and there is a news that this model has surpassed this taste, and now they are smarter than a lot of humans, something of that sort of. And as somebody running a service industry, it seems like I would not be surprised if tomorrow, if there is a model where you can simply plug and play your business and everything is, provided that you have enough data, everything is taken care by the large language model itself. I would not be surprised. The time is not here yet, but who knows about the future, right? So as somebody running a service company, do you feel that, do you ever think about this?
Absolutely, of course, think about it, but I personally don't think it's realistic. And I think so much of the stuff that is out there that is actually hype. And I think you would have probably been in it as well. But since ChatGPT was first released, I've been using it, and people have been involved in it. And I think it's only become really mainstream in, let's say, the last 12 months, right? Don't be wrong, it's been there, people have been talking about it, but it's become massive in the last 12 months. And the point is, we've come a long way from where we were there to where we are now. But if you just take it back to practice, it's easy to get caught up in the hype and get caught up in these things where, if you take it back to practical scenarios where are we literally going to, for example, let's say we've got $100,000 a month advertising budget. Is it going to get to the point where there's no human involved in that and that decisions are going to be made, compliance, legal compliance, what happens with accountability, right? We talked about that before. There's regulations and things that just simply won't allow that, right? If that makes sense. A lot of companies work with other companies, right? That's meaning a lot of companies work with other companies. So if that company, are they just going to trust that your AI just runs your whole company? And so what happens then, right? So there's no accountability. There's a lot of these issues that I think that realistically that's not going to happen. Now, for example, could you get serious intelligence in how you bring it into your way? For example, you want to run ads or you want a CEO coach or that kind of stuff where you got this stuff. Absolutely. But people will fine tune it. They will address it for their specific scenario. They'll give it the certain permissions and, human in the loop, that kind of stuff where it's okay, you can do this, but you can't do that, if that makes sense. It won't just be, I don't see a place where, you plug something into a model and it just does that. It's just, there's too much at stake. There's too much regulation for that to happen. Now, for example, could you hypothetically get a startup or something that had something like that? Yeah, because they've got nothing to lose, right? But as soon as you start getting to serious levels of business, most businesses aren't even digitally transformed in regards to the basics, right? Let alone embracing the idea that you're just going to plug in a model and it's going to run the business. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not a fan of AI. I absolutely am. It's how are these businesses going to leverage it in their own way, right? With their own technology, meaning how they've packaged this up in their own offering. Those are the businesses that are going to have that. Because they might have a team of 2 that outperforms a team of 30 that used to be there. That's great. But there's still that team of 2 of those high performers, and that business is still leveraging those people. But they're ultimately leveraging the tool to do the other 28 roles, right?
And I'm also curious, in regards to, in parallels to owning your own data, building up and becoming your own custodian of your own data and building that as a moat or as a leverage, how does that differ in a product company and in a service company? Because in a product company, you get to own all your data. It's your data. But in service company, if you're working with a client, you're playing with basically their data, right? So what sort of internal moat do you think as a service company, or are you particularly building? Because at the end of the day, it's the service that you are providing, right?
Yeah, but I think there's multiple ways you can do it in how, as long as you're delivering value on top of, like, again, you can't just deliver the service, right? There's other things that, and this is different for every business, of how they need to do this. But ultimately, how we deliver that service and what the deliverable is the data, right? And
how we deliver it
and the actual deliverable, right?
Is your data.
Is the data,
Yeah.
right? And then, yes, there's obviously things like, for example, where intellectual property and that kind of stuff comes in for certain deliverables, but there's other things that we can do as part of that aren't that intellectual property. Now, another point might be, there might be changes with that intellectual property. You might say, well, we'll do this for free, or we'll do it for this at reduced cost, but we want X, right? It's, again, different business models are going to come out of this, and different things are going to be at play, and it's going to look different for every business. But ultimately, if someone wants their intellectual property, you're building something for it and they're paying for it, you're not going to be able to treat that as data, right? If that makes sense. But to me, the data is more valuable on how you got there, not the actual deliverable itself. Because if you know how you got there and you got the data on that and the processes and the systems, you can recreate the deliverable.
And maybe I'm asking these questions because I feel that all these big giants companies are now coming because everybody has reached that one particular point where they want more revenue. And now they're looking out for revenue everywhere and anywhere. I mean, like, when I think of Claude doing so well in its enterprise business side, where a lot of its subscriptions are taken. I mean, like, I think one of the product market fit area for all these models is coding side, right? I mean, like, Anthropic really makes good money through its own some sort of subscription just for developers. So when I think of it, a IT company in Kathmandu earlier used to retain 100 people. Now they would rather pay $200 a month for 20 people and then lay off these 80 people. So basically, what Anthropic did was, or what this large language model did, is basically they come and took over the revenue from these 80 people, and then they give you a service, right?
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah,
so
it makes
seems
sense.
like these big companies are now trying to go everywhere and anywhere, wherever there is a revenue, and eventually one new updates and one section of an industry is getting automated.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess the way I look at it is, ultimately, it doesn't matter what business it is. If you can deliver more efficiency and more value at scale, that's where the money will flow. Like, the money flows to where the efficiency is and the value is, if that makes sense. And ultimately, if it's more efficient for 20 people to do the output of 100 people, the money flows there. Like, that's what's going to happen. And from a service-based perspective, and even from our work, kind of work that you do, etc., there's still, having been in it for years and deep in, there is still no substitute for having a team working on a product or an idea. Yes, things may get more efficient. We might have a smaller team, right, working on things. But if you think you're going to get pen testing, security testing, you're going to get a properly built product, architected product, etc., and you're going to have no one working on it that has any idea what they're doing, good luck with that. The way that I explain that is, if you don't know what good looks like, you don't know what good looks like. So if you're going to give tools into the hands of people that maybe a junior developer and go, great, they've got Claude now, and internally we're just going to build this application, there's going to be massive leaks, data leaks. There's going to be humongous cybersecurity issues. It will happen, not if it will.
It's already happening.
It's already happening, but it's going to continue to happen and get worse. And the problem with that is that it's like going, to a degree, yes, there's the digital part of it is different to the physical, but how I explain this is like, ask Claude how to build a house, and technically could tell you everything about how to build a house, but you've never built a house. So, like, good luck building the house. Now you can say, well, this has learned digitally, so it knows, it's not the physical stuff. Yeah, I agree with that. But it's still, through real world testing and things like that there, it's not at the point, like, we're not going to get to the point where it becomes like, I don't believe you're one shot. You're not going to one shot Facebook. Now, you might one shot the overall platform and the idea and that kind of stuff, the security, the outliers, and most importantly, the distribution, right? Good luck trying to get that. It's not going to happen. And I think that is where, again, we come back to this value, is that when we build a product, when we build any system or platform or anything, it's never just the code, or even when it's a physical product, it's never just the physical product. It's the experience, it's the service, it's the entire overall package, I guess, is the point. And even more importantly with this digital stuff, when you talk about AI service, is that it's not just the actual output, it's the overall entire package of that. But are more things moving in-house? Yes. Like in regards to, again, menial repetitive tasks, like, oh, write me this blog post. Or like, unless you are positioning yourself in a unique way, then if there's a business that just has a simple internal person that they want to write blog posts, and they're probably not going to outsource that to a content agency anymore. It's not going to happen. But there will be other businesses that want a content service, and you'll be delivering great value for what they're paying, and you're using those tools to help them, if that makes sense. It's not really changing. It's getting more efficient. And that relationship will change. But people are already talking about these, where they're trying to build protocols where agents run businesses with other agents and things. Don't get me wrong, there'll be some things where maybe there'll be communication protocols where if I'm sending an invoice or wanting to retrieve information, that may happen. But like, where they're actually running a business, so I don't see it replacing teams anytime soon. When I say teams may get smaller. Yeah. You're just expected to produce more. And again, that's where you're not going to keep the low performers. You're going to keep the high performers that can produce 20x, right, of that.
100%. Let me change the gear. I think we've talked a lot about AI.
Yes.
So right now I'm working with this association called NAS IT. It is an association of all the big tech companies in Nepal.
With them.
And I think I'm trying to help them position Nepal as a tech hub.
Yep.
But I think you would be such a right person to ask, how do you think we should brand Nepal from an angle of tech if we want more of the tech jobs to coming this part of the world?
It's a good question. I think a lot of that is in regards to the branding, which is the messaging and everything is there. It's a young and upping. Yeah, there's a lot of young talent here.
But the challenge is relativity with India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, because I think they have their own good positioning when it comes to a tech job, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I guess the point being is that you can't overcome proof, meaning the fact, like, as in, no matter how well we write something or whatever, everything comes back. If you've got proof or you've got results, like, for example, it's like saying, I'm a $1 million company, how do I do better than a $200 million company? Well, yes, you can position things well, etc. I think it's more leaning into the fact that we have got that young talent. We are an up and coming thing. There's that ability to influence it. But I guess over time, naturally, it's going to develop as well, if you know what I mean. Like, it's about, for me, most importantly, is about showing people that there is good talent here. There is good infrastructure.
How?
By making it happen.
No, I mean, like, lately we just had our annual national budget event, and I think the government is seriously trying to invest in tech side because they have realized it has got a huge potential. And we also have a report that in last 1 year we have around like $1 billion import just from the tech. Yeah, these are officials one. We do not know, in an informal, a lot more money might be coming, right? So now if there is this amount of money coming in, and in tech, I think a lot of value stay back. For example, if you are exporting, let's say, a product, let's say a garment, maybe you are not holding 100% of the value here because you might be importing a lot of things from outside and adding your own value and then exporting it. So maybe out of 100%, you might be 50-60% of the values might go back into importing the raw materials, right? But when it comes to tech, I think 90% of the value is being stayed over here. Yeah. So I think it is a high time, and I think government has already realized it. But the problem is, how do we position us now? Because there are big giants around us who have their own unique branding. And for example, when it comes to you, I think there could be a story could be made how a lot of digital transformation in Australian manufacturing industry is happening from Nepal. That could be one story that we can design, right? Yeah. They're good data engineering companies, they're good fintech companies, but I think if you had to suggest this association on guys, this is how you should be positioning yourself if you want to attract more tech jobs, tech opportunities coming to this part of the world. I mean, like, how do we do it? Because they're already good talents. It's just the communication. From a communication side, we have not been able to do justice to the talents over here, right?
Yep. How blunt do you want me to be?
Super blunt. QTP.
The raw facts of it are the government has made it very difficult to do business here up until now.
Mm-hmm.
So everything they've said is words.
Mm.
What will happen is when there's action and legitimate action and we don't chop and change every 3 seconds, it will change. So no matter how much we position things and we say X, Y, and Z, do this, do that, it's words.
Mm.
Show me it,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You get things by, again, proof. That's what I'm saying. Proof, action. Right? Now we're saying that we're going to do these things. We're saying we're taking it seriously. Show us that we're taking it seriously. Because as someone that has been here a lot and has put a lot of time and effort and investment into it, has not been easy at all. Every turn has been, we're grateful for it, but it's been incredibly difficult. And then I hear a lot of conversations, how do we make it this? Just do it. Make it easier, right? Actually make it easier. Make it easier for people to invest in the country. Reduce the red tape, right? And action it. And if you do that, the messaging will come from that. That is the point. Now you can talk about the branding and packaging of it all, which is, we've got young talent, and this is the point. We've got young talent, and we've reduced the red tape. We've reduced the barriers. We've made it as easy as possible for that investment to flow in, and we're seriously backing in these companies.
What is something that really bothers you about doing business in Nepal?
The uncertainty, right?
In
Things change too much.
For example?
Government decides 1 week it's going to be this and the next week it changed. Now recently that's been different, right? And they are certainly taking the IT sector seriously and putting it, which is great, but it's still words, right? If that makes sense. We haven't had a long enough time to see what happens over 1 or 2 years, if that makes any sense, right? Which I believe there will be good change, but when we see it, it will be great, if that makes sense, right? We're still looking at that. Recently, there's been things like, for example, every year tax rates change. Then you've got different foreign investment rules change from one budget to the next. And then suddenly you try and do this and that. Oh, no, we've got to have that. We can't do that. We can't do this. There's just a lot of bureaucracy. And just saying it frank, from a foreign investor perspective, I know for a fact that people don't want to invest because of that very reason. And if there's uncertainty of what's going to happen tomorrow, why would I continue to invest? Now, I haven't necessarily taken that because I can see the potential here, right? And it can be evidenced by what we've done here, and in fact, and even people that I think we've created some of the best infrastructure and stuff, even just in our facilities and that kind of stuff. But I can absolutely see from other people's perspective why they wouldn't, up until recently, why they wouldn't want to do that. And I guess that's my point of being completely frank about it, is that we can package it and brand it whatever way we want. If the packaging doesn't meet reality, good luck making it happen.
In fact, it's going to more backfire.
100%. So make it happen, make it easier, actually put your words into action. I'm not saying you, but like I'm saying as a country, put the words into action, and then brand it and package it, and people they'll come, right? And I'm all for it, right? I don't want this to be taken that I'm not for it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Like, I think there's great potential here. I think there's opportunity for young people to get massively involved in it, but the government must support, and that's what they're trying to do. But then we've got to turn that into action.
And I think, interestingly, I feel now is the time, because if you ask any Nepali, I don't think that there was ever a time like this where people are this positive towards government. I mean, like, I'm 36 and I was never this positive about my government, and all benefit of doubts to them right now. So I think now could be a really good time, because there's a new government, young prime minister. We have a prime minister of 35 years old. Probably the perfect time to start doing things parallelly, because I think in a world that is moving this fast, we should be doing things parallelly, right? I mean, like, I would differ with an idea that let's sort it out everything, let's solve every other problem, let's make things picture perfect, and then start moving towards branding, packaging. Let's do it parallelly.
Agree. I couldn't agree. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we need to show the action. And that's that progress is, I guess, the point. The progress is what, and the package. I couldn't agree more. I'm not saying get everything perfect. There's no such thing as perfect anywhere.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm not saying I'm an expert on the government here or anything like that. There, I'm not, right? But all I've got is a perspective as a foreign investor, and having had a lot of dealings with the government over a long time. And if you're talking about the tech industry, reduce the bureaucracy, actually make it happen, show the progress, and then package it as we've got young talent, we've got a hungry workforce, and we can deliver. And if there's a focus specifically on AI, again, if there's legitimately that talent that can be here and focus on that, not just that it's said that that's that talent, then yeah, there will be stuff will flow here.
Maybe let me reframe my question. Because you are into this transformation, there are good companies in data engineering. A lot of US health data get processed here in Nepal. A lot of. Yeah. Then we are really good with around our fintech. A lot of good fintech companies has really come up. I think at times I feel there is a confusion on, should we brand ourselves as an expert in every other technology, because that is going to make us lose the credibility, right? I mean, like, you cannot be good at everything. I mean, like, but then how do we choose up one particular domain in tech as, okay, we are the expert in this particular domain? Because now then from that way, you are not going to bring all the community together, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. For me, I believe that a company can be an expert. Like, there's so many people here, right? Like, as in, you don't have to be data engineers as a country. Like, any country doesn't just have one discipline or something like that they're doing. So I would be absolutely framing it in the fact that we've got tech talent, and that across multiple areas, and we're a hub for that. So from a country perspective, we're a tech hub, if that's the way you want to put it, rather than it being like, oh, we're a data engineering hub. I wouldn't, again, my personal opinion, but I wouldn't be approaching it in that way, because you're limiting yourself severely. And not only that, like there's so many people that aren't doing data engineering that are involved in tech, if that makes sense. Like, it's one piece of the puzzle. So ultimately, you're positioning it as, we are a good space for tech companies to invest. And how do we show that? We show that because of
by action.
It easy.
By taking action.
Yeah, by taking action, showing the progress, but genuinely making it easy. That's the point. And that's what I mean by taking action, is like, we show it by actually having a reality of that. And I think the most important thing, again, to reiterate, is consistency and reliability from the government, like backing in, this is what you can rely on for 5 years, and we're not going to change it in 3 months' time, right? True. And we're here to support you, and we're not going to stuff you around, essentially. Like, you can rely on this plan. There's nothing more than, not just in general, business hates uncertainty.
True. Let me change the gear again. I want to go back to how Julian was back in his school days, back in his childhood days. I mean, like, what do you remember from your school days or back in your childhood days?
I was probably a pretty crazy kid.
Okay. Entrepreneurs are generally crazy.
Yeah, I used to. We had, ever since I built my first website at 12 and built a mobile app at like 13. Nothing major. They were very template-y based projects, but ever since then I was kind of like invested in it and always tinkering around with technology, that kind of idea. Always loved it. Had a few range of businesses as a kid, gardening, mowing, catching, I call them yabbies in Australia, but like yabbies, they're like mini lobsters, if that's the way you want to put it, and catch them, cook them, and then sell them as like a food product. We collected and traded football cards. So we'd buy like bulk packs, run big bulk packs, try and get the rare ones and flip them. You
make me remember Gary V. A lot of Gary's businesses, right?
Yeah, he does that. Yeah, he does do the flipping and everything. Yeah, so that kind of idea, I guess, is just, I don't know, little small hobbies and things like that there. I always did. And I was just always obsessed with building Intuji, and I'm not driven by money or anything like that. I just love building things. Like, it's just, I love, I don't know, especially when we do like big projects and work with big companies, things like that. That's what excites me. Is getting to be involved in. I want to get to the point where we're doing some of the biggest projects in the world for digital transformation, including AI and stuff, but helping companies achieve things they would have otherwise never been able to achieve had they not worked with us. So I guess that's kind of always been the idea and the vision behind it. But yeah, just at school was working basically. I did school. I got in trouble they wanted me to focus more on my studies. I still graduated and everything, but I did both, and I went full time after school into the business, and I've grown it to where we are today. Does that answer your question?
No, and I remember earlier you said you were grown. You spend a lot of time around industries, right? And hence that's how you eventually got lean towards. I mean, like, were your family members were running a businesses around these industries?
Yep. So I had family members. So parents, brothers, etc., involved in those industries, and uncles and cousins and just friends and that kind of thing in different industries. So I've been blessed, I guess, to be involved in that from a young age, and to witness and see things and learn things where otherwise may not have had and learned those experiences. And just it's always been fascinating as well. And if I see, I don't know, I see something like a shipbuilder or something like that, I will go deep into researching how they manufacture it, what goes into it. I've been lucky enough to go behind the scenes of some pretty large organizations and see how they run, etc., and I want to do more of that as well. But it's just something that's always fascinated me, and I've been around that since a young age, and so I've always been learning about it. So it's interesting.
Can you remember any one particular moment where this idea of digital transformation came into you? I'm like, oh, these industries, they need some help. Some sort of any eureka moments like that.
I wouldn't necessarily say like some your specific point in time, but I've always seen I guess I've always been like even routing my phones, fixing computers, building computers, networking, just anything to do with tech, digital, etc. I was like, I don't know, understood it probably more than the wider population, if that's where you've just been really invested in it. And I guess a geek, if that's the way you want to put it. And so I've always just seen opportunity of saying, like, if people understood the power of this and actually did this and this, that they could get some serious returns from it. So I don't know, that's just always been in the back of my brain from day one of like, how do we leverage, like, if I can get people to understand the power of this, they will see that they need to do X, Y, and Z, and they'll be able to get some serious returns from it. So it's not necessarily one moment, but that's just always been there.
What bothers Julian in general?
Well, business, obviously. We've got to make sure the business continues to run and grow, achieve the goals that we want to achieve, make sure the team's looked after. Obviously, make sure that we're staying up to date with things, like not getting left behind.
That bothers you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as in...
But then I think that should excite you and bother you.
Will bother me in a way of saying it excites me, but it bothers me in a way of saying, like, there's always pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself, I guess, of saying, like, I must be at the leading edge of this, understanding it better than anyone else. Not that I'm saying I do. My point being that is my point for myself, that we have to be at that. I have to be, which essentially means us in the company, that we have to be at that edge, and that responsibility is on me. And so I guess that's the main thing, is like, make sure we're achieving the goals as a business, we're growing as a business, I'm making the right decisions. On the other hand, from that perspective, is that we're keeping up to date in our space, and that we're delivering not just superficial recommendations or superficial advice, but genuinely really, really good advice and knowledge that, AI can't replace.
Good one. How do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of your mental health? Because as an entrepreneur, you are always bombarded with, there's always 100 of problems to be solved, right?
Yeah.
So what's the secret of Julian of taking care of himself?
No, there's no secret. I don't say I've got a secret. I don't say I'm perfect at it as well. I guess for me, honestly, I enjoy doing it gets frustrating at times, and when things aren't going well, you're getting ground down, results aren't happening. Yeah, it gets frustrating, right? But I do enjoy the building of it. I enjoy the grind of like genuinely. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I'm wired. Of like, if I'm doing nothing and where I kind of get itchy, like as in like, so at work I'm a bit worried, like why am I not doing anything, kind of thing. And so I don't know. That's just the way I am in that regard. But it's when just trying to keep things in perspective when things aren't going well, of like just taking a step back and going, okay, it's not the end of the world. And I think a lot of this comes back to preparation. Like if you're not prepared, and what I mean by that is not just preparing for a meeting or whatever, but like if you're looking 3 or 6 months in advance, it's a lot easier to remain calm now than it is if I'm looking at tomorrow. And for example, something might not be going our way, but if I'm looking 3-6 months in advance, I know that I've got that time to change it, and I've been planning, you know, I've kind of got those backup plans. I've got these things in place that, you know, should something not go to plan, I'm not looking at tomorrow where I've got to, whoa, what's going to happen? We're looking 3, 6, 12 months in advance, right? And I think that, you know, that's something I've had to learn. I'm still learning it, but it's not always been great at it. Still not always great at it, but like trying to remain level-headed and calm, like remove the emotion and go, okay, what's the realistic scenario right here? And someone said to me once that things are never as good as they seem, and they're never as bad as they seem. So you keep level-headed within that. There's always I don't know, another thing I've often said is there's always a solution. So no matter what happens, backs against the wall, there's always a solution. Like somehow we should put our head down. There's a solution.
True. And I think the quotation that you just said it to me was said to me by one of my friend, and he also said, we overestimate a lot of things we could do in a year, and we underestimate a lot of things we could do in 10 years.
Yeah, that's Alex Hormozi says that.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
It was told to me by some one of my friend. But
it's a great quote. I don't know if he's the original one, but I've seen him. He come. Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. Even yourself, you overestimate that in the short term, but to a degree, I would somewhat argue that helps us build towards the 10-year as well, right? But we've got to keep that perspective at play. I think the most important thing for me anyway is that having a mindset that, and this is obviously, again, it depends on individuals, but there's always a solution. And if you've got that solutions mindset, you're prepared to learn no matter what the problem is, you'll come up with something. You'll figure it out.
At times the solution is just simply showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really have to come up with your own solution. If you
it doesn't have to be some out there idea or anything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just show up, and then something will come out of it.
Correct. And I don't know, it's easy to give up when things are tough. Like I always say this, when like it's easy to be a cohesive team and to celebrate the wins and to to be invested in the vision. This goes for me, but it goes for team members or anyone involved in things. Like it's easy to do that when things are going well. When things aren't going well, it's not so easy, right?
Exactly.
Suddenly it's more pressure. Suddenly it doesn't look so rosy anymore, right? And business is never just like this. It goes like that. And I guess it's, again, coming back to having the right people that support you on that journey is incredibly important.
True. Amazing, man. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too.
And I think I got one of the answer for my own question about the positioning and branding of Nepal as an IT spot would be, I think one great way would be celebrating people like you. I mean, like people who have come here all this far, invested a lot of your time, money and energy in this part of the world. And then I think if you could celebrate a story like this, and these are the stories that would be people would find it relatable. Maybe more people in Australia, there could be more Julian coming in Nepal from Australia, maybe from all around the world. If we could tell this story about how you are building amazing things from right here in this part of the world.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking me on.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring out your name a lot often in my other meetings that we need to celebrate this guy.
No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate, and as I said, I've got a lot of love for Nepal. It's a great country. It's an insane country. I think it's really, really insane scenery and stuff. And yeah, it's been awesome fun. So have got no intention of not continuing to build here and building our team. As we grow as a company, we're building in obviously Australia, obviously it's where we are, but in the UK, potentially some other places as well. But there will always be a place here for people to grow. So,
and I think we are finally ready with our policies, with the positivity we have among our youth. And I think there cannot be any better time than this.
Yeah, let's
Awesome.
make it a surge.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Anything before we depart?
Yeah, nothing for me. I guess if people want to follow me, they can follow me on LinkedIn and find us over there and stuff. And I've just started a YouTube channel.
Do you reply to people on LinkedIn if somebody is watching this and they reach out to you?
Yep, yeah, 100%. Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. But know how to reach out. Don't just say hi.
Yeah, know how to reach out. Don't just say hi. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and subscribe on YouTube. If you search Julian Wallis on YouTube, I just started a channel, posted a vlog. Actually, a vlog from a week here in Kathmandu. Okay. So
I'm going to list all the link below on the description.
Awesome. So yeah, there's a few platforms and follow along the journey.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the time. And I'll find more reasons to have you back again on this podcast.
Thank you.
So for everybody who's watching this, obviously just two of us in front of a camera, but there are amazing people behind the camera and computer screen making this happen. I'd like to thank our strength partner, Hamai Steel. This takes a lot of resources. So thanks to our partners for making this happen, Hamai Steel. We recently have launched a new initiative called Become a Doer. We're coming up with a lot of crazy smaller courses, short-term courses that plans to bridge academia and industry so that our graduates are more job ready. So look into our website. We're launching a lot of interesting courses. A new course is coming on about how to become a podcaster. We'll be talking more we'll be creating more content around that course. I'm going to come back again with another amazing guest, another amazing conversation. Until then, you guys take care. Bye-bye.